And we're
All
live.
right, we are live. Today we are going to be going behind the names of the Bible. And that we are doing this through our website Bible Wiki. If you are unfamiliar with Bible Wiki, I'm going to really quickly introduce who we are. My name is Adam, or Superdadsuper. By the way, I'm not a dad. That's just my username.
And hi, I am Henry.
Henry is our resident Bible scholar here at Bible Wiki, and we are both admins here. And you can visit us by going to bible.wikia.com. Feel free to comment below at any time if you have any questions. Let us know where you're watching from. You can comment below on Facebook and YouTube. So we're going to start. We're going to get started with the stream and start going behind the names of the Bible. In the Bible, and in ancient times, names, they had a lot of significance. The meaning of a name often described the circumstances of one's birth or what was occurring at the time. Since names are such a common place in the Bible, we're going to be covering this in multiple streams, and we're also going to be doing some other topics. But in this stream, we're going to be focusing on names of people leading up to the flood. When we look at names and their meaning for this period, we really see how they reveal what was going on at the time. So what we're going to see, we're going to look at Genesis 4 and Genesis 5 and look at the meaning of the names. And the meaning of these names is going to give us a picture of the progression of the evil in mankind, all the way from Adam's children up to Noah. And no, we are going to be jumping around a lot. We're going to be jumping back and forth between Genesis 4 and 5 because we're not doing this in the biblical order. We're going to do this based on order of when these people were born. Also note, we're not trying to say that genealogies have some like secret messages or they have to be decoded or anything like that. We're just saying that in the context of the times, the names of people had meanings. They aren't just distinctive markers like they are today. They actually meant something to the people of the time in the Bible. Cain. Cain is the firstborn son of Adam. And Eve remembers the curse on the serpent, and that's in Genesis 3:15. And when she remembers this curse and she has her firstborn child, she says in Genesis 4:1 that she brought forth a child. She acquired a child with God's help. And that's partially what Cain's name means. At the curse, as this curse was fulfilled after 9 months of uncertainty, Eve probably prayed for a child, and like I said, God helped her. She probably meant to say the word Cana, but said Cain instead. Abel. So Abel is the brother of Cain. And it would seem that Adam and Eve named their son Vapor or Vanity. This is probably an accident, or this is probably just some weird coincidence or prophecy with Adam and Eve naming their son Vapor or Vanity, like they're saying he's not going to last long. But it could have been the case of where Adam and Eve later on called their son Abel because he has such a short lifespan. He lived less than 130 years, real young, right? But at
Yes, it
this,
was.
hmm? Oh, you're
Yes, it
there.
was.
Yeah, it was.
Let's go back to Cain a minute.
Okay.
All right. Pull up Cain. Thank you. Uh, let's see. Eve remembers the curse of the serpent and the implied promise of the Savior, declaring him Cain, which was supposed to, like Adam said, was supposed to probably should have been Kana for possession, because that's what the record tells us, that Canaan was acquired of the Lord. Okay, and ironically, the second son, Abel, was also prophetic, because, like Adam just said, it was he didn't live long, but the word meant vanity, so it could have been. Or it could have been because he was born in the evening or the morning with the mist in the ground.
That's just speculation. We don't know. We don't know for sure.
Of course, we were not there. But the point of this broadcast is to get a feel for what the world was like based on the names. And since Abel was named vapor, mist, it could very well have been because he was born in a mist. Or it could have been cool of the day and they could see their breath. And it was the breath, the mist. And ironically, it was also vanity, the shortness of life, as we read in Ecclesiastes. And so Cain and Abel grew up, and they got into a fight, and Cain killed Abel, which brings up the next child,
Seth.
Seth.
And you can find Seth in Genesis 4, verse 25, and Genesis 5, verse 3. We're going to talk about the Genesis 4:25 first. So, Seth, his name means appointed, because Seth's parents said, and this is like I said, 4:25, God has appointed for me another offspring to replace Abel, since Cain had killed him. This may be seen as a fulfillment of prophecy that's found in Genesis 3:15 that talks about the seed of the woman. So Eve's offspring would crush the seed of the serpent, or crush the head of the serpent who tempted Adam and Eve to eat the fruit, and that serpent is Satan. And so we can see Seth as being appointed because it would be through Seth's line that the seed of the woman would come about. And what we're going to see here in just a second is that the children of Cain and the children of Seth are kind of going to go in two different directions. Cain's line's going to be worshiping false gods, and then Seth's line, for the most part, worships the true God, but then everyone grows into evil.
Well, yeah,
and
it
then
may
we're
have
going
been
to see.
sooner. It may have been sooner than later, according to the names that we're going to see. Pull up the chart for us.
Oh, the chart. You want the chart
Yeah.
at the beginning?
Okay, thank you.
You're brave.
And we see you can see in the chart Cain's family is on the bottom, and we've lined Cain's family up with Seth's family, and because we only have the dates for Seth's family, so we had to make an assumption that they were living about the same time between their generations. So anyway, after Cain's murderous fit of jealous anger, he was exiled by God himself to wander the world alone. Regardless of the timeline and the birth rates outside of Eden, it is likely that Enoch was not the firstborn of Cain's line, but in the ensuing time, average time of birth being around of the first mentioned son being about 70 years. At least 2 or maybe 3 generations had passed. Cain City, built sometimes in the 2nd century after creation, most likely began small, with perhaps a migration of sympathetic relatives uncomfortable with Adam and Seth in control. Which brings us back over to the other family. Enosh.
Yes, not Enoch. Enosh. So Enosh, interestingly enough, his name means man. And another person we see that has that name is Adam. And Enosh, we can think of his name meaning man as like a new start for humanity, because Enosh is the son of Seth. In Genesis 4:26 tells us that during the time of Enosh's birth, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. And so we can kind of see a new start in the human race, a new start in the appointed line, and that's why we have another man, just like Adam and man.
Right. This Enosh is of the same root as the name Ish, which which Adam used of himself when he said the Isha, the woman comes out of the man, or from the man, Ish. So this was from the same root. Seth and Enosh seem to be a transition from the land of Nod and a population centered in the community of Adam. This early, that mankind began to commonly call upon the name of the Lord. The word began means it became common. This didn't happen until the days of Enosh went, so it was over a century before, after Seth was born, that this religion began. So there was some mingling already. Maybe that some of Seth's children born after Enosh may have even migrated to Enoch. We see, depending on the rates, we can have, there might have been as many as 3,600 people, or maybe even more, in the world by the time of the days of Enosh, living in Adam's city and over in Enoch, in the city of Nod. And we'll go back over to Irad. Do you remember the chart? But, well, we don't have to put it back up, but
we can put that back up afterwards.
Well, okay. Anyhow, we're talking about Irad now, or Yarad. This is probably in the 3rd century after creation. Two tribes were perhaps beginning to interact. Some of them may have been hostile, but mostly the followers of the way of Yahweh were benign. Compromises were being made, and a counterfeit religion fashioned after the true religion may have arisen among the Canaanites. During this time, in the days of Canaan, the community began to mingle. The founding father may have resisted setting himself apart from the rest. His son, Herod, born late in the century, could have followed in his father's steps. Therefore, he was set apart like a hermit, and that's why his name means sequestered, set apart. And so these things show that these names give a feel for what the world was like back then. And we can see that there's mingling from almost the very beginning. People, like today, they had their own lives to live, and they didn't look to God very often.
It's interesting because we have almost, I think, like close to 1,000-year period between when Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden and the flood actually takes place. And we know very little about history because obviously, there's no archaeological remnants from that period anymore. I guess to an extent, the names are helpful in that, they show a little more detail of how mankind was becoming more and more evil. Now, I'm not sure that was the intention in terms of it being recorded in the Bible, but I guess we can talk about that fact a little bit later on. Maybe at the end we can talk about that.
So anyhow, we talk about Canaan.
Okay, that's me.
Yeah.
Canaan. Okay, so now we're back onto the line of Seth. So make sure you keep this straight. Now this is Canaan, the son of Enosh. And remember, Enosh's name means man, and you can find Canaan in chapter 5, verse 9 of Genesis. And so when Enosh was 90 years old, he had a son, and he named him Canaan or Kenan. Some translations will do it with a K and an E rather than a Canaan. But this name actually means acquire, just like the word Cain. And so, kind of like how Enosh means man and Adam means man, we can kind of see the whole idea of a new start for mankind being repeated with Adam's firstborn son was named Cain, or he acquired a son. And so Enosh, the man, just like Adam was the man, acquired a son, and so you called him Canaan.
Well, that is a possible meaning of the word. It's a good because it comes from the same root. It could also mean nest. It could be settled in, that sort of thing. But see, when you have an Enosh, he has a son, his heir with and here he's living possibly close to or in the city of Enoch, because he may be living. He's living near Cain. He has this connection. He may have this connection with Cain, or the Cainites. So it could have been just as. You see how the situation would be a little bit confusing. I mean, it's that, but here he is, naming his son Canaan, which is the same thing as his murderous cousin 100 years earlier, or 200 years earlier. I have Canaan being born almost at year 400. So yeah, it's been almost 300 years since Seth was born. So it's and Irad it's been born about this time. It's in the same time as Irad, and so that's why we got him in this part of the land. And so these people are living, are intermingling. We don't have a picture of two cities, city of Adam and the city of Enoch, the city of Seth and the city of Enoch. We don't have that. The names just don't show us that. There's too much in the meanings of the names. How about they're similar? They don't show us even though people are beginning to call upon the name of the Lord, it's not necessarily a true faith. It's just that they notice God is there. They worship him, but like today, it's just on a face value, and the people of God have had that problem forever, because you read about it in the Old Testament,
and then you see it today.
I don't want this. I don't want all this show. I want you to live for me. And even from the very beginning, they weren't living for God. They weren't living for God's glory. So Canaan, though he may have been, Enosh might have thought that perhaps he can get closer to God now. He has a son that he can pass the faith to, and so he names him Canaan, because God has provided him with a son after 90 years. But as the scripture says, Canaan had other children. So, Enosh had other children. So, why this man? Why this man and why Canaan? That's the name we have. So that's where we go. And the next is...
Thank you, Henry, for that very lengthy explanation.
Moving right along. We don't want to be understood. All right, look what we have coming next.
Bam!
A special.
Well, this isn't a person in the Bible. It's three people.
Whoa!
I guess it is. So now we're gonna switch gears really quick, and then we're gonna go back to what we're talking about. But I wanted to point something out to you. So we're gonna be talking about these three people. And Henry, can you read those three names off for us real quick?
Oh yeah, Mahalalel, Mahalalel, or Leel, if you will. But it's Leel, Mehuhael, and Methusael.
Thank you. That was our automated recording. No, that was Henry. But what you would notice with a lot of names in the Bible, whether many of them end in an EL, many of them have an EL at the beginning, or some names have an IAH at the end. When you see this, a lot of the times, this is something that's called a Theophoric name. And a Theophoric name is a name that bears the name of God. So to explain that real quick, when you a lot of times, not all the times, when you see an EL or an IAH at the end of a name, that means the name has something to do with God. And a lot of times that means that God did something special in this person's life when they were born, or it's indicating something that God was doing during the time. And so we're going to be talking about these three men here in a few minutes, and we're going to see how we're going to see what God was doing or what God was not doing to them based on their names. And this isn't just in Genesis. This is all over the Bible. This is in the New Testament. This is even outside of the Bible we'll find this. And it's not even just with God's name. It's with the names of false gods. Like Jerubbaal is another name for Gideon. And Jerubbaal means let Baal contend. So we'll see this with a lot of different religions and a lot of different books outside of the Bible from this time frame. And now Henry's going to talk about one of the men that has God's name in it.
Yes. We'll go back to we'll stay in Canaan's line because that's the first name on here. We have Mahalalel. Mahalalel. Woo.
This is Seth's line.
This is Seth's line. It's the grandson of Seth, son of Canaan. Yeah, Canaan. A grandson. So anyhow, they like I said earlier, they're having a hard time keeping religion straight because they were mingling, and so and they were just living their own lives, but without God. So finally, Canaan decided that when he had a son, and by the time that this son was not born, God meant something to him. He says the praise should be towards God. Mahalal le'el. Yeah, it's this brings to mind what we hear we read later in scriptures of the word hallelujah. Same word, hallel, and el, hallelujah. Yeah, so it's praise be to God, or no, actually praise be to the Lord in the Psalms. Praise.
So instead of singing hallelujah, you could sing Mahalalel.
Yeah, back in the old days, yeah, they would have to say that. The M in front of his name is used a lot in making a noun out of a verb, and making so, and it's making a place name out of something. M, we'll see that with the name with Egypt, Metzarim, but that's another generation. But the M a lot of times is a place. It's giving it a place name. It's giving it a noun, making a verb out of a noun. So anyhow, so yes, so in Mahalalel, yeah, we see the hallelujah in there, right? Basically, it becomes a hallelujah, and as we so apparently in this time there was some sort of a revival, at least around the family of Adam. Adam's still quite alive, and he will be for another 600 years, at least about 500 years after this. So it's right in the middle of Adam's life. So look, things might have been looking up. They might have had a little bit of a revival in these days. So they named a son by this name.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes.
7:05.
Now we're back over to the sons of Seth.
And you
I
can
mean,
remember if you see a
Canaan.
4, if you see a 4, that's going to be Cain's son. If you see a 5
Oh,
on
yeah.
the verse, that's going to be Seth's son.
Right, chapter 4 down here in the bottom here. Anyhow, all right. Mahu-Aal's name means smitten by God. So things weren't going so well on that part of the world. Their religions weren't quite doing them what they hoped they would, perhaps. But in the record, we see this chapter 4. So this would be the first time we had a Theophoric name, and it was in the line of Cain, which was interesting. So things weren't looking up for Cain's side, and they were having by the time the next generation came along and Mahu-Aal had a son, he figured that something had to be done. We have to get closer to God. I'm gonna name my son Methuselah, which seems strange. The next Methuselah seems to have been named in honor of God, or maybe a god. This is an odd name for a man in the ungodly line. So perhaps in the midst of a growing city, a new religion had arisen, and it can be supposed that a demonic influence of Satan was behind this. And the El was, so we know that El became the name of God in Canaan much later, after the flood. So the El here most likely did not refer to the true God. And finally, we reach the famous Lamech, the son of the high priest of the new religion.
I had something to say on Lamech.
Yes.
Okay. So Lamech, you may have heard of Lamech. You may have not. Well, there's two Lamechs. So there's a Lamech that's Noah's father, but then there is a Lamech that we're talking about. And this is not.
It's the other way around, though.
Yeah, this is not. This is
the first Lamech.
Yeah, this is the one we don't like.
Yeah.
We're gonna tell you why.
But he's probably better known than Lamech, the father of Noah, because he has his story here that goes along with him.
It's a verse 24. Verse 24. Yeah. It says, so Lamech was talking to his 2 wives, and this is the first example of polygamy we know of in the Bible. But Lamech had 2 wives, and he said to them, if the revenge of Cain is 7-fold, then Lamech's, so then my revenge is 77-fold. So this is an example of when someone quotes what God said, because God said to Cain after he killed Abel that if someone tries to kill you, you will get revenge 7 times. And Lamech more or less just mocked God, didn't care, and said, well, if Cain's revenge is, if he gets 7 times the revenge, if someone kills him, I get 77 because someone tried to kill me. I killed him. He tried to hurt me. So I killed him, and I get 77 times more revenge. And so I guess Lamech thought he was powerful enough to say, yeah, whatever God said, I'll just take that. And, I'm powerful. I get 77 times the revenge.
Yep, he was a stinker. He was a tyrant, for sure. He probably decided he would take over the city of Enoch, and that was, as we'll see in a bit, his sons were very instrumental in getting civilization in the city of Enoch and in the land of Nod to going full steam ahead. But meanwhile, let's talk about Enoch. Well, let's go to it's Enoch. Yes, Enoch was the son of. Let's see. Enoch was.
He's in Seth's line because it's chapter 5.
He's in Seth's line. Yes, chapter 5.
Jared's son.
Jared's son was. We haven't covered Jared yet, though, have we?
Did he get skipped? I guess so.
He got skipped. Jared. All right. Where's Jared's?
Real quick.
Bring Jared up.
Experiment things. We practiced this several times, but
yes, I'm sorry, folks.
Things don't always work out.
We missed Jared.
So
Jared.
Hopefully, we'll do better next time, and maybe we'll have a even nicer stream next time, right? All right.
All right. Anyhow, Jared. All right. Jared.
The drifter.
Jared. I might have to find that.
Do you want me to start talking?
Go ahead and tell me a little bit about Jared.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jared, he was named Descent because this is when we really see the world was beginning to descend into darkness. Yes, the world was getting bad when we had I think it was Mayhale or some. It was one of the three with the Theophoric names.
Yeah,
but,
like we were saying earlier. Yeah,
we get to see the world is descending into darkness because Enoch, Jared's dad, said descent. That's what he called his son. When his father birthed out Jared, he said descent. The world is descending into darkness.
Yeah. Right.
And so we've been talking about, this is an example where you can see what's going on based on the meaning of the name. And this is why we're doing this. Because a lot of people, they look at genealogies and they think, it says this person borders this person, this person borders this person, whatever. But there is a reason why this stuff is in the Bible. It all has a reason. And there's more reasons than just the names. But it's something that people don't know about, and I think a lot of people probably find interesting once they do know about it.
Yes. As we can see, if we put the chart back up, that this is see that Jared was born in the year 460 after the creation, so he's halfway through Adam's life. And perhaps living with Adam, or may have been living over in because he was named, his father named him Descent. He may have actually been amongst the Cainites over on because. There was a revival apparently. It seems to have fallen in hard times, and so when the high priest named his son Jared, we're assuming he was the priest anyway, because he had that name that glorified God. So. There was a decline all over the place. Jared himself may well have moved to Enoch for some reason. In any case, things are really getting bad. Jared had lived almost twice the regular generation before he had his son. He had 160 years or something. What was it? What does the scripture say there, Adam?
When Jared had his son,
was how old?
He was 162.
162. So, see, things were really bad when you don't name your successor for 160 years. Everybody else was 70 years or something like that. 100 years. 162 years. And it gets worse. I mean, the birth of the successor gets even further along the next couple of generations. So, and Jared's son. Now, Jared's son would be the next one, and that No,
Well,
let me
actually, no. Before we do Jared's son, we go
well,
back to Lamech for a
let's hop back the Lamech sons. That's right, because Lamech had 3 sons that are very interesting. So let's pull up that slide.
Yeah. Now about that's about the same time, or I guess shortly after Jared. I think shortly after, you might have to correct me on that. We
Let's see.
start seeing the innovation of society
Right.
coming about. And we see this through Lamech. And we're talking about Lamech, the one who mocked God. Lamech had 3 sons named Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain. And the Tubal, the Jubal, and the Jabal, they all look very similar. That's because they are all based off the same word, which means river or stream. So all their names sort of mean river or stream. And we're going to talk about each one of these 3. So Jabal was
Right.
named Stream after the moving river, and he probably was growing up in Enoch, so that's probably where there was a moving river. And in chapter 4, verse 20, we can see how Jabal is the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. So Jabal was one of the first true herdsmen, and so that's obviously a very critical component of agriculture, as this is when you had livestock. Now, this doesn't mean he was the first person to have livestock, because Abel was a keeper of livestock. Is what Genesis 3. I know, actually, it is Genesis 4. Genesis 4:2 tells us Abel was a keeper of sheep. Is what my translation says, sheep.
Right.
But Jabal really started to innovate that. Now we're going to move along fast because we're limited on time. Jubal is another son of Lamech, and Jubal was also named after the flowing water, or the river. And verse 21 of chapter 4 says that he was the father of the lyre and the pipe players. So he was the innovator of music, and that is once again a sign of cultural sophistication. That's why these 3 brothers are named after the river, because the river is a cornerstone of a society. It's used for trading, it's used for shipping, it's the highway, it's used to travel, it's the border, the territory marker. And so it's just a true paramount marking of a society. And so it makes sense why these 3 guys are all named after rivers, because they were cultural innovators. And then finally, we got Tubal-Cain. And Tubal-Cain, his name is river, so Tubal is kind of like Jabal or Jubal, and spear. It's got the name Cain in it. And Tubal-Cain was the forefather of blacksmiths who made tools and weapons. And we see the Cain on there, and Cain's name means spear, and this might be because Cain killed Abel, and so Cain's name became associated with violence. And so it makes sense, if your son's a blacksmith, for him to be called Tubal-Cain, because he's making spears, and he's the spear river, or the river spear guy. That's what his name is.
That's quite possible.
I want to ask you something really quick. We can't take too long to this, but would you say that these 3 brothers would have received their names at birth, or do you think they would have received their names afterwards?
Well, they would have received their names at birth. That's why we looked at them as the River Brothers, as you call them. That was very creative. I enjoyed that. They would have, civilizations, towns are almost always built on rivers, because that's where the transportation is. You get your goods to the next city down, next town down river. It's always good to be at the headwaters, upstream near the mountains on the river, if you have goods to move, and because it's easy to go downstream than upstream. But even if you have to pull things upstream or something like that, however they did it, At least it didn't have to have wheels. I don't know, but so that's why rivers are always, it's best to be on the river, you know. And if you're on the coastline, it's even better because you don't have to worry about the roaring river carrying you downstream. You can go either direction if you got oars, or you got so yes, so it was important that the river was important. They were living on the river, and that's why they were all named by the stream. So it was, their name was given to them at birth, like most of these names are. That's what the thesis of this presentation is all about, anyway.
Now we got 3 more names, so just hang with us. We just got 3 more.
Well, yeah. All right. So to get the time scale right here, folks, these brothers were born in the around the first 2 were probably born somewhere in the after 600. So they're moving right along here with the time scale. But so around 600, the first 2 were, and Tubal Cain, being born of the second wife, could have been as much as a century or later after these, but they were all living at the same time. People lived long in those days, so that's where we are, and we're about 1,000 years from the flood, and things have got really bad and really fast, and now and in this time, at this time, the
Methuselah.
preacher, Methuselah. Well, we have Enoch. Enoch comes before Methuselah, doesn't he? Yes. Enoch the second.
Yeah, Enoch.
Yeah, spring
There's
up.
so many Enochs, it gets confusing after a while.
There's only 2 of them.
Okay, so yeah, he must be back here. I don't know why these slides.
Oh,
is this? Yeah, this is him.
I numbered them.
This is why this was an experimental, right? First live stream is always the worst.
Right. I thought I numbered them right.
It only gets better. And maybe next time we could do a topic that'd be
all right.
Big banging topic.
Yes. Well, all right. Lamech. There's Lamech. Back up.
I got Enoch.
Methuselah. Did we do that?
He's on the Enoch is on the screen.
Okay, Enoch. Well, it's very important. I had him. I'm gonna have to look up the
Enoch. Man, I remember what we talked about. I'll start talking.
Just go ahead and read the slide now. I'll find it.
So Enoch, he shared the name of the Cainite city, not Canaanite, Cainite city.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
And it is likely that his father was among those who began to live among the Cainites. So Henry's theory.
I've got it. I've got my slide up now, so I can look at my notes underneath. They are identical to what I have on the guidelines. Jared had descended, as his name said, into the fallen city of Enoch, the Cainite city, and leading his family into sin, apparently. But so after being settled in this hostile territory over a long period of time, let's see, wait a minute, let's see, he lived there. What did we say? It was 162 years before Enoch was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot. That's a long time. I mean, not 65, not 70, not 100, but 162 years. So in that time, he was seeing things go really bad, faster and faster. And so by the time his son Enoch grew up, he had been named in the name of, probably named after the city. That's why it's Enoch. there's nowhere really in this part of the world, this part of the timeline, what would he be dedicated to? However, it could have been a prophetic. He said, this is getting bad. We need a man of God. So I'm dedicating my son to this this purpose. For whatever reason, though, yes, God had chose Enoch to be his ambassador, his spokesman, his preacher.
This is the Enoch that and then we have to move on because we got 3 more people to talk about. Enoch, this is the Enoch who didn't die. This is a very famous story where God took him away and he didn't die. And this also gets elaborated and validated again in Hebrews. I think in Hebrews 13 or no, Hebrews 11. I could maybe get that verse, but we don't really know how he disappeared exactly. We just know, yeah, Hebrews 11.
He was taken to be with God.
Was taken up.
He walked with
taken up.
He walked with God. Yes.
All right. We're gonna move on to Methuselah now.
Methuselah was his son, born when he was 65 years old, and young actually.
That's a year older than you.
Hey, yes, that's indeed. But I'm not having children right now. I guess I could, but I'd have to ask. I'd have to ask special dispensation there for that. We are looking for Methuselah, right?
Yeah, I got him. I got him up.
All right. He's the son of a prophet.
Genesis 5, verse 22 is where you can find Methuselah.
And Methuselah's name means either man of the dart, or when he dies, it will be sent. Yeah, dart. Or spear.
Man of the dart.
D-A-R-T. Or spear is something that is thrown, because the word silah or silach at the end of the name is to send forth. Now, if you send forth a weapon like a spear or a dart, you stab somebody. Yeah, it's like it's a noun, meaning that which is sent forth. So therefore, we have at the end can be spear, or it could be it is sent. The first part of the name, we've run into that with Methuselah, not to be mistaken with Methuselah. Methuselah. Yeah, that same word at the beginning, met or meth, is man. Well, it's also short for muth, which is death. Or to die. So therefore, it could mean when he dies, it will be sent, or it could mean man of the dart. Of course, it could mean man who will be sent, but I don't think that's what it would be. It would be one of the first two.
And Methuselah,
man, or death that will be sent. It could be that too.
Methuselah was actually, this is the guy who's known for being the oldest man, or the man to have lived the oldest that we ever have recorded. So Methuselah was born, let me check. Oops. Wow, oopsies. Okay, I hit, oops, sorry. Okay, let me see. In Genesis 5, it talked 522. I want to see how old Methuselah was when he died. Let's see. He lived 187 plus 782 years.
969 years.
So that is and then he has, it's 187 years later once he fathers Lamech. So it's a long period between Methuselah's birth and his death. And most Bible scholars date Methuselah's death to be the year of the flood.
That's why the prophecy might have been when he dies, it will be sent, being judgment.
The flood.
So we either have, the flood is judgment. Yes. Violence and or judgment. Both of them fit his name. Yeah, and Adam was still living when Methuselah was born. And Methuselah was born in the year 687. And Lamech, his son, was born, let's see, when he was 180 something years old. So he's another one that was a long time, right? Sometime in the 900s. Lamech was born a little bit before.
Okay, we're talking about Lamech now, right?
Yeah, Lamech. Bring up Lamech.
Yeah, I got him.
Lamech was born a little bit.
5 verse 25.
Yeah, he was born a little bit before Adam died, and I'm pretty sure he was born before Enoch was taken. But he was, and it's interesting if you look at the chart again. Can you pull up the chart?
Oh, you want me to get that? I can get that.
Slide 3.
Yeah, I know. It's all the way back.
That's
here.
one I know was named right.
I can just navigate it easy.
There. All right. Can you?
Whoop. There you go.
All right, there. Can you point out where? Can you highlight the bottom down here in the bottom where we have the sons of Enoch, sons and
I got a
and daughters.
pointer here. Yeah, this one.
All right, down here in the corner. Yeah. See, we have Lamech, and he had his
right here,
and there's Lamech.
This
And this is how it could have been. It could have come down. We're assuming now that Methuselah did not follow his dad's religion, but was at least not at this time. Or he could have taken, or maybe Lamech's the first down here in the bottom daughter, Nama, meaning loveliness.
But we don't know that for sure.
I'm just saying this is a maybe. This is a maybe. This is explaining why this Lamech was named as he was. So if there's a second, if the second generation, you have Nama being born, and then later in her life she marries Methuselah, and Methuselah then she names her son after her dad. That is a possibility. It is not.
All right, I'm gonna go back to the Lamech side. Lamech. Okay.
Lamech. Yes. So
I'll go Lamech real quick, and then I will wrap us up
Lamech
with Noah.
Oh, you will?
Yes, I will.
I don't know. I like Noah.
Okay, we can both talk about it. We don't
yeah. So Lamech was like I said, he may have been named after his his paternal grandfather Enoch. Let's see, both Lamech and Enoch shared names from the rival tribe. Is what the slide says, and I'm sticking to that. Let's see what else I had to say about Lamech. Since let's see, Lamech the second, where is he?
You can just look at the side. That's
well, I read it, but I no see. Lamech, Methuselah, Lamech. All right. Adam would die. See, in Lamech's first century of life, Adam would die and Enoch would disappear in that order. And those aren't on the chart because they're after in the 900s. So, and Noah was born in the 1057 or 1056, depending on how you count the years. And I'll let, if you want, just talk about Noah. I have stuff I'm looking at right now, so you say something and I'll say something, and we can close up.
Okay, Noah. So Noah's name means rest. For in Genesis 5:29, His parents, or Lamech, calls his son Noah, because off the ground that God had cursed, Noah would bring relief from their
Yeah.
hard work, would bring rest from the painful toil of their hands. And this painful toil of the hands can be referring to both the curse. Well, it's mainly referring to the curse, and when God told Adam he would sweat, his brows would sweat when he works.
Right.
But then
That's
this could
exactly
also
what
mean we have all this violence and torture going on during this time, and Noah's going to bring us relief. I'm not sure to what extent Lamech really knew what kind of rest Noah was going to bring, because Noah doesn't bring rest that you would expect. In fact, it's rest
Yeah.
through destruction, because Noah's
Right.
the one
It's not.
that brings the flood, and that
It's not.
rests the earth from
Yeah.
the earth from evil.
Yeah. So he's the son of Lamech, and again, it was 182 years, a long time before he was born, and the 2 or 3 generations between his dad and him in this line, in the Sethite line. So 1,000 years had passed. Noah was born, and it was in a period of time when things were really getting bad. Probably Lamech had moved back into Adam's camp because it was getting so bad. Maybe before even before before Adam died, maybe even early in his life. So he cries out, Noah, which meant we need rest. We need some comfort. We need something. This is getting really bad. And he said, out of the ground the Lord has cursed, this one shall bring relief. That's Noacham. It's also a word for grief. It's internalized. The word is, it's interesting where it shows up again in the next chapter. When God is grieved that he made everybody, that's the same word, Noacham, is used. So it has lots of meanings. And in this context, it means relief. It means relief from all the trouble. I just best to wonder. It's the matter of he has you when someone dies you grieve, but you comfort yourself as well. You internalize it, and the trouble is past. So you can see maybe that you want the trouble to be gone, and then you can internalize. You can say goodbye to it. It's just weird how the words can have so many meanings. So, and it would be 500 long years before Noah was called. So,
that reaches the
end. And that's the end. So, you have any final words? I had them written here, but you took them out. So it's your.
Well, I want to say thank you to the people who tuned in, and for those who are rewatching this, not live. Thank you for watching this. We are hoping to do this again, and hopefully, obviously have a different topic. We'll probably be talking about names sometime again, but probably not next time. And if you have an idea of something you think we should talk about, you can let us know in the comments below on Facebook or YouTube. We could do anything. We could do tons and tons and tons of different things. We could have years worth of material if we wanted. But I'm glad I was able to do this, and I hope you learned something interesting about the Bible, and I hope this encourages you to not just think genealogies are boring, but realize, hey, there's something going on even within the genealogies, and hopefully this will show you even more that everything is there for a reason. And I will point out one last thing. What a lot of people don't know is actually Genesis 5 is actually its own little book embedded into Genesis. Genesis 5:1, depending on your translation, says this is the account of the generations of Adam, or this is the book of the generations of Adam. And the word book or account literally means like a book that was written. And so this recording for Seth's line, that is, this recording is actually its own little book. So in a sense, it kind of the meaning of the names can be traced even more because it's its own little book.
Yes, it's most likely a record that was passed down in
Orally, probably.
No, actually, it probably was recorded in some sort of picture language or some sort of cuneiform. Didn't have to be orally. These people were very smart. They could keep records on a tablet, on a staff. You carve it around. You have the story, have the names and everything. That would be a better understanding of how it could be passed down and eventually rewritten, or you could just know that God revealed it directly to Noah. But I'd rather think that it would be that there were records. That's why it's written that way in the Bible. It says this is the generations of the heavens and the earth. That was the first book, and just as the generation of Adam.
And we could do a whole live stream on that, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could. And there are several books all the way through Genesis. And you have Adam, this was the book Adam. Oh, lost my headphones. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I guess you don't need to talk anymore, though.
We can say goodbye. Yes. So anyhow, yeah. So there's Adam's right that this is a recorded record. Well, that's redundant, but anyhow. So that's what we got. And,
all right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you next month or sometime within the next 2 months, and we'll have another live stream here. We'll be going over another topic about the Bible. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night, and remember why these things are in the Bible. Take the time to look at things. Think about these things. The Word of God is very valuable. When you start studying it, you will see a big difference in your life. And hopefully this gives you a new view or aspect on studying the Word. Good night, and so long.